Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon master this evening. Tonight, I should say, I am joined by our two regular fixtures of the Wednesday night podcast. First up, Jeffrey.
Hello, everybody.
And Steve O.
Hey.
So tonight we are going to be continuing to make characters for different games. This session, I think I mentioned on an earlier video that what we're doing is every second Wednesday we are changing out what game we're going to be playing. Our alternate Wednesdays are going to be the ongoing Traveler campaign that we made characters for last week. The other Wednesdays are going to be rotating games. We're going to be playing different things. Tonight, we are making characters for the very interesting dark fantasy game Blood and Bone, published by Arcana Games. Arcana Games is pretty much one dude named Eugene Fasano, and Mr. Fasano, if I'm butchering your name, I'll have to apologize. The game is billed as Dungeons and Dragons meets Game of Thrones. So I have had a chance to go through the game extensively, and I haven't run this yet. So this is the first time we're making characters, and it will be our first time playing it. And I got to say, as I was really in the last leg or the last sort of stretch leading up to getting ready to run this, and for you guys, my enthusiasm for this game has really diminished a fair amount. So I'm hoping that in the course of making characters for this will get a lot more exciting. What I'm going to do, Jeff and Steve, is I'm going to run, for the most part, the game exactly as written. In terms of the character creation, the combat rules, all that stuff, I'm going to run as written rather than the way that I like to include changes that I think I would make to it. For those listening at home, the only significant change I will be making during the actual adventure is that I will not be using the stats as written. Okay, I'm getting feedback from somebody. Sorry, guys, we may, just because of how sensitive the mics are, I think headphones are kind of necessary here. Anyway, as I was saying, the one thing that I will not be doing is using the NPCs as written. There are a number of sample NPCs that are included in the book, and I'm not sure if it was editing or what, but there are a number of what I think are mistakes in it, in the sense that math is wrong on for calculating the stats, or they've assigned the wrong value for stats. Or they've given traits to these characters that either they shouldn't have, or that just make no sense because they relate to a skill, say, that they just don't have. So that's the one change. Otherwise, I am going to try and run the game as it was written, and then I'll with the idea being that I'm going to do a review of the game later on, and I want to be able to review the game as it was written rather than what I would like it to be or whatever. So. An example, so anyway, here's one specific example that I'll just point out, is that in the print version, and this print version came out, I got mine about 2 months ago, maybe. There are, as NPCs, there are 3 versions of Carolyn soldiers. There's a recruit, there's a seasoned, and there's a veteran. But the thing is that every single fucking one of them has the highest level of fighting in it. They're all masters at fighting. And that in particular, wow. Yeah, and like that's one of the things that I'm finding in a lot of the cases. They also, when you're making your character, you guys will be picking traits. And traits are kind of like feats in 5th edition D&D, or like, edges in Savage World. The characters that you guys will be creating, I believe, will be starting with 4, either 3 or 4. And then what happens is, as we advance, or as your character advances through the different chapters, which is what they call adventures in this, chapters as part of the overall campaign that is the book, what you'll get is new traits. The thing is you'll never have more than 12. 12 is the most you can ever have. there's tons of NPCs that are listed here that have like 9 traits. So the NPCs, as they're written in the book, almost all of them are more experienced and more capable than what starting PCs are. Which, for a game that is a fairly bloody or has a fairly bloody combat system and has a really long time, unless you got we'll talk about what the magic is, but there's something called blooded. If you don't have blood, which is their version of magic in this, healing takes for fucking ever, like months. So it seems overly punishing or just not well thought through. So yeah. So anyway, that's the only change I'll be making. So let's talk about what the game is, guys. Did either of you have a chance to take a peek at the game itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a look at the character creation a little bit.
Okay, cool.
I flipped through the book. Yeah, I thought it looked kind of neat, but I didn't look up close.
No, and like I said too, like, you know what, it's for a long time, from the first couple of times I read through it, it was really exciting. I found this game really exciting. So just because I happen to find some like editorial errors in it, I'm not going to write the game off just yet, and I really want to give it its fair shake. And I think that character creation in particular is one of the areas where it really shines. So I think that will be exciting. So to situate what this what the game is about, the game, as I said, is a dark fantasy game with very, very low, magic. The only kind of magic that is present in this world, the world is called Osura. And you guys can find the map of Osura on page 54. So for those listening at home, this is what Osura looks like. The art in this book, I should say, is phenomenal. Really beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
really
some of it was striking. Yeah.
Yeah, like it really gets you into the world. Where we will be playing our one shot is there is a nation called Karos, which is over here. As sort of general background to the world, there was an original, like a very ancient civilization known as, I believe, the makers or the architects, Masons. And the Masons, who may or may not have been human, created all these sort of ruins across Osura, and then they disappeared into history. And then this kingdom called Tarn, or empire called Tarn, sort of arose and dominated the continent, and then they fell as well. And then more recently, Karos, which is founded primarily on a church called the Order of Ash, which worships this sort of benevolent being called the Light. Karos arose and has I don't know, they seem to be sort of the like benevolent kingdom, I guess. But one of the things about the Blood and Bone game is that, just like Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, they don't want to have obvious good guys, obvious bad guys. Everything is sort of, is shades of gray. It's all perspective and motivations and whatever. One of the signature things about Tarn is that Tarn is ruled by, actually, before I talk about that, let's talk about blood. So what blood is it is a some kind of like genetic freak trait that allows certain people who are blooded to be able to have control over certain like bodily functions, which sounds just like silly and gross, but I guess what I mean is like they have control over flesh and sinew and blood and bone and whatnot, and that can extend beyond the grave too. Certain blooded are able to raise the dead, and depending on there's generally speaking two kinds of risen, or two kinds of animated dead. One is a thrall, which is a mindless thing. It has no autonomy of its own. It won't do anything that you don't tell it to do. And then there are the risen, and the risen are not like resurrected versions of their previous people. They're just if they are controlled, then they have a lot of autonomy. They can exercise very specific instructions. If they're not controlled, they're dangerous fucking monsters that will try and kill people and spread the risen infection. Because if you're killed by a risen, you will become a risen as well. Now, Tarn has, as I said, is ruled by an aristocracy, that is all blooded. You know, in order to be a noble in Tarn, you have to be blooded, and their beliefs are such that they think it's okay to have risen humans and to have thrall animals, but they think that raising thrall humans is an abomination. So they've got fields full of undead people who are tilling the fields and so forth, and they have these things called wights, which are basically like imagine like an undead warrior clad in heavy armor with a silvery mask. They use them as their the bodyguards for the nobility. Other kinds of blooded are that you'll see in the north of that map. There's a place called Ainur. Ainur is kind of like the kind of like Irish or Celtic. They have very primitive beliefs. They don't believe in the light or the Night King that the Tarns worship, and they're where you get Druids. You know, Druids are a specific kind of blooded that uses their powers to like enhance themselves or alter animals or things like that. There's a picture of a blooded. Let me spin the camera. That focus. There we go. A Druid. So yeah, it's a neat thing. So the Ainur are broadly speaking, they're sort of separated into two different types of people. There's the Ainur who live on those islands, and if you think of them as like sort of like, you know, Vikings and whatnot, that's a good way to think of them. There are raiders who come across the waters to try and get to the you know, the Keros and the Tarn who are on the mainland. But there are also ethnically Ainurnish people who live on the mainland who are called the Escarn. The reason I mention that is because where we're going to be setting our one shot in western Keros, right along the coast near the border with Tarn, there are also tons of Escarn there. So if you want to play a character who is more of a primitive, you know, sort of like Viking type, the Escarn are more civilized than what the Ainur are, but they're still second-class citizens for the most part. The other thing with Escarn with Keros, the place that we're going to be setting is there's I believe it's 5 kingdoms that make up Keros, and it's sort of like medieval Spain, where like there is kind of a central kingdom, but really it's a bunch of very independent kingdoms that make up that political unit. And they the order, as I said, the Order of Ash is a very prominent part. Most priests in the Order of Ash, the significant ones at least, are also blooded. And what they will do is they'll go through a process where they will basically stare at the sun until their retinas are burned out, and then someone with blood will repair them, and then they will be, with those new eyes, they will be able to read the holy text of the Order of Ash. They find Risen to be an abomination, and not surprisingly, that puts them at odds with the Empire of Tarn quite often. But they do make fairly good use of thralls. You know, people can, for sort of like payoff in the afterlife, they can donate their bodies to the church, and then they're risen as thralls to work for them. Remember, thralls are sort of the mindless whatever else. So, so that's the world that we're going to be in. We can feel free to make up, like the world is pretty bare bones. I'm not going to concern myself with the rest of the world because we're not going to be there anyway. So if you think of like what we're going to be is, I'm picturing that the sort of conflict between the different major kingdoms in Keros carries down the chain to the smaller duchies and baronies and whatever. So those smaller units likewise sort of play off each other or play off against each other and have rivalries with each other, even though they're part of a smaller kind of province that is part of the wider kingdom. So I thought that you guys would be maybe like either servants of a minor noble house in the region, or like, you know, border guards or something like that. Something to give you some more concrete motivation for, you know, than just like, hey, we want money or whatever. that sound okay to you guys?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, having a look through this stuff, did you guys have any kind of ideas of sort of what type of thing you want? I guess first thing is do either of you guys or both of you guys want to play a blooded character? Does that sound interesting to you?
Sort of.
How about you, Jeff?
No, I think if one of us is blooded, it might be fun, but
Okay,
Steve
cool.
can go for it.
Okay.
All right.
So, let's just talk in generals. What's our premise for the short story? I'm calling it a short story to kind of keep with the theme of Blood and Bones whole like chapters thing. So we think of this as a short story. Who are these characters we're telling a story about? What do you think? Do you think you guys are like kind of part of like a noble's ranger unit, or do you think you're like the huntsman and whatever else, or are you knights errant? Are you just Einarn who are living like kind of illegally on the land? What do you think?
What are you in the mood for, Jeff?
Well, I mean, as far as a character concept, so I don't know. I'm good with any of that. I don't mind being a part of a noble house or a smaller noble house.
Part of the evil empire?
Part of the evil empire. Sure.
Well, evil is all relative in this world.
Of course.
What type of?
So, I mean, I guess the question is, if Steve's going to be blooded, is this a secretive thing in this world? Like, would he not want people to know?
It depends on how the blooded power is expressing itself. Blooded is an accepted thing. It's not seen necessarily as evil or a mark of the devil or anything like that, because almost every society has some way embraced blooded. It's just that, like, if you use your blooded powers to create Risen, then the Order of Ash is going to have issues with you. If you use the blooded power to create human thralls, then the Empire of Tarn is probably going to take issue with you. Or at least they're going to think you're an abomination. If you use your blooded powers to, say, like, control animals or, like, fuse aspects of animals together, like put a crazy pair of horns on a bear or, like, fuse bear claws onto your hands, then the Einarn or the Eskarn will think that you're kind of cool, but other races may think you're a fucking monster, So it's very relative, and I'm totally open for. I had sort of an idea for what I was going to do for a short story, but if you guys have, like, if it turns out in the course of the session that you guys have more interesting ideas of who your characters are and what sort of motivates them, I'm fine abandoning what I had in mind and just coming up with something different. So what about the game? Because I guess here's a more important thing is I'm interested in seeing if there's something about the game that you find interesting, you want to explore. We can make the short story work around that. So, sure. Like, maybe one thing to start with, Steve, like, I'm looking on the blooded abilities you can choose from, start on page 25. There's 25 and 26. These are the traits. Is there anything there that sort of struck your fancy?
25 and 26. Hold on here.
Because that may be a good starting point. If what you're interested in is more like healing powers or things like that, then you could conceivably see yourself as like a a hedge wizard or like a kind of a witch doctor kind of thing, like a town shaman type thing, or even maybe a member of the Order of Ash.
Right. So we're all shepherd.
And like, if you want to take some of those undead raising things, you fucking do it. It's one of the neat things in here, and it's intended to be part of the player's stuff. So if that's, say, what you want to lean towards, we can just make you a noble of Tarn. We can flip this story across the border, and now you're part of Tarn.
Interesting.
One of the neat little tidbits of the blooded in Tarn, or the nobility in Tarn, is when they demonstrate blooded ability as children, their ears are cropped, and then they use blood to heal them so that they have these weird, like, elven points to them.
Mm,
You can always tell a Tarn-blooded at a glance.
interesting. Well, I like the wither power.
Okay, Jeff, is there anything that sort of strikes like jumps out at you as interesting here?
Well, you know me, I like to make, monks or, pugilists or something like that. So
Okay, well,
if
then,
Steve's going to be a blooded character,
yeah,
maybe I'll make a sort of an Igor to his Dr. Frankenstein, or like
sure. So
a protective manservant to his sort of character, like someone who's by his side to protect him.
So one of the abilities you should look at then is on page 20, there's an ability, or a trait, I should say, called Scrapper.
Yeah, that's the one that I was looking at.
Okay, cool. So to give you guys context for how many of these things you're going to be able to choose, for a starting off character, you're assumed to be in Chapter 3. In Chapter 3, you will have 5 attribute points, 3 traits, and 6 skill points. So if you're looking around at your traits, and that's helping to give an idea. So one of the things you would have to spend, Steve, is one of your traits would have to be spent on Blooded, which is on page 19.
Page 19.
That's your base power that gives you your Blooded ability. And here's one of the interesting things. So if a human character dies within about 15 yards of you, you gain power back. So like you literally rob part of their fleeting life force.
Vampiric, nice.
Yeah, that's all Blooded. So
Right.
okay, so let's talk about what do you if you're, well, I guess there's 2 ways we can do this. We can you can be part of Tarnished nobility, or you can be which is what you would be if there's a set in Tarn, you would be part of the nobility because you're Blooded, Steve.
Right.
If you're not going to be from Tarn, then you, depending on how you use your powers, you may be,
Druid?
Sorry?
A druid? One of those
Yeah, if you want to play a druid, for sure, you could do that.
It's kind of what was your original sort of story plot line?
Well, I know I just had a rough idea. What I did is I had sort of a list of some of the things that make this setting stand out. There is a pre-made adventure that's available for this, but it really is a generic kind of like, you're in a caravan and then you fight some shit. And it doesn't really bring out some of the stuff that is interesting about this campaign, or about this campaign setting. So I've got some stuff in mind that all I really need you guys to do is to be kind of on the Tarnish, Karos border on one of those.
Sure, I wouldn't mind being a druid, actually. If that's
Okay,
possible.
cool. Okay, so you'll be an Einorn, then you're going to be probably ethnically that, which means that the types of traits you're probably going to want to look at would be, things like flesh mending, skin walking. Withers is fine, and withers from anything, or from any sort of belief. But that's probably what you would lean towards more than like raise or thrall or things like that.
Okay.
Okay. Jeff, do you think your guy is? Well, I guess Steve, do you think your guy is part of the Einorn culture, or has he been driven out for some reason?
I think he's part of the Einorn culture, but away from home for some reason. Traveling, exploring the world, trying to find something.
Okay, cool. No, I like that. So, Jeff, your guy doesn't necessarily have to be Eskarn then, like what Steve's character. So I keep saying Einorn, Steve. What I mean is Eskarn. Eskarn is the part of the Einorn people who live on the continent.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, Jeff, what do you think? You said you're going to be sort of his Igor to yours. Why do you think you're traveling with him? Like, are you an Eskarn as well, or are you, did you pick up with this guy for some other reason? Does he pay you?
I think that my character maybe he's been, treated poorly a lot, and Steve's character is nice to him, so it's sort of his first friend he's made.
Okay. Why does he have no other friends? Like, is he hideous? Is it his personality?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be like maybe disfigured or something's wrong with him.
You know what? If you really want to make him an outcast too, there are other races in here too. If you look on the map again, there is a race or a nation called Abkhaz. Abkhaz is kind of like a Middle Eastern crescent kind of culture, and then there's also Numir, and Numir is populated by, the finest smiths in the world, who also happen to be black folks. So if you really want both of you guys to be sort of, odd men out, we could set that. So we could have both of you guys as, outcasts. And I'm actually, I can make my idea work if we flip it down further down the coast. Mirkos, which is right here, guys, is kind of like a merchant kingdom thing. It's built on trading, and it is strictly a wealth-driven society, like an oligarchy, I think.
Plutocracy.
Plutocracy. Thank you. Where it's the wealthy, and if we set this somewhere around here, that's fine. That means you would be, Steve, way out of your element, because the Eskarn are about up here. And if you're from one of these other foreign nations, then you would be a foreigner as well, Jeff.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, cool. So then let's turn to the before we start adding stats to it. And this is one of the things I found very interesting about the game is you will be picking 3 different beliefs to sort of structure your character around. Those 3 beliefs are your world belief, your other belief, which is a belief about one of the other members of the party, and your self-belief. What I'm looking at, guys, is on page 9. So examples they give or the sort of structure that you want to think of these things in is like, I think A, so I'll do B. Or because of A, I want B, so I'll do C. And examples of that in composition are things like, my family is weak, and I must lead it if it's to prosper, so I must earn the favor of the Lord to ensure my position at its head. Or House Thorn is the only power holding order in Eastern Tarn, and if it falls, many Eskarn will suffer. For the sake of my people, I will use my might to defeat the house's enemies wherever I find them. So each of those things, I guess another thing is that they're meant to be sort of action driven. Like they will prove useful in figuring out what you're going, what motivates your character. When you play up one of your beliefs in the game, you get back a point of what's called tenacity. I think it's tenacity. Yeah, tenacity is kind of like your action points or your edges or whatever. It's a thing that you get to use to gain advantage on a roll. And advantage is always, just like in D&D 5th edition, you roll 2 dice, take the highest. So,
right,
what you want to be, and the other belief is part of the thing that fills in the backstory between your characters. So one of the examples they give is, I loved Ilaria's father as a brother, and I owe him my life. To pay this debt, I must protect his daughter's honor and person with my steel as if she were my own. So let's talk about, maybe start with the world beliefs. I've actually printed off character sheets for you guys, so I can track these. Excuse me. And let's see here. So player name, Steve and Jeff. So you guys have any thoughts about your respective characters' world beliefs?
Yeah, mine's kind of a radical environmentalist, sort of a druid, one with nature. The
Okay.
other houses are sort of ruining nature with their expansion and their deforestation and their sort of attacks against my people. So I'm sort of not that I'm on the warpath against everybody, and I see everybody as a villain, but I see that there are hostile forces in the world, and I'm trying to figure out ways to try and guard against them or do things about them.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize that into a more punchy kind of one sentence or one
One-liner?
or two sentences. Because remember, one of the ways I think A, so I'll do B. Like it's intended to be, a wishy-washy belief that you won't act on is not what this game is about. If what you're saying is that, I feel that some of the other ethnicities or other cultures are destroying the world, which is therefore destroying my people, that means you'll do what? I will fight against that. I will oppose that.
Sure. This
right?
world belongs to the elements, and the Eskarn are the people of the elements.
Okay. So what does that mean you will do then?
So I must restore this world to the power of the elements.
Okay.
I must restore this world to the control of the elements.
Okay, so like the elements, there are some like primitive gods in this setting. So is that what you meant by that? Like that you want to restore this to sort of the primitive gods?
Sure, they're the Eskarn guards.
Iskarn gods, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Then yeah, sure.
Okay. So say that to me again then.
Okay. So this world belongs to the ancient ones. I must do what I can to restore their authority.
Okay.
It's like the flavor text on a Legend of the Five Rings card.
Seriously. Okay. The authority. Cool. How about you, Jeff? Any thoughts on what your character's world belief is?
Yeah. I think that the world is cruel. So I'll do anything I can to oppose it.
The cruelty, you mean, or
I'll
the
do anything
world?
I can to change it.
Okay, interesting.
He wants more kindness in the world.
Okay, cool. And I take it that it's sort of implicit from that the only way you can do that is from action by mortals, right? Doesn't sound like he's putting his faith in a god or gods or anything like that.
No, exactly.
Or the undead. Which aren't so warm and cuddly.
The other belief pertains directly to another player's character. So in this particular campaign or mini campaign, it will be about each other's character. Now, maybe so, Jeff. What is there one culture that sort of most interests you? The ones that we talked about?
I think I'll be from the island culture of blacksmiths.
Okay, cool. So if you go to page 87, guys, this is where it gives you, it's an appendix, and they give you some sample names from the different cultures. So, Steve, you can see there are Ainorn names there, which would also work for Eskarn.
All right.
And Jeff, you'll see there are some Numerian names there. And I'll let you look through there and figure out what...
Just have to wait for the PDF to load. Whoops.
Yeah, sure.
So then I think my other belief is that, I guess we need names to refer to each other. That's why we're
that's what I was thinking. We would switch over and grab the names. For those listening at home, this is what we're looking at here. There's a pretty great list of the cheat sheet with all the different cultures' names on there and sort of what you do to create a character. So it's a handy little reference sheet. Any of those jump? Well, we got one, Steve?
I do. Grimnir Karndigra.
Grimnir Karndigra?
So that's Grimjr.
Yep.
And then the last two names are Karn, Karn, and then Digra, D-I-G-R-A.
Cool.
Yeah.
Grimir, I love it. Okay. Grimir Condigra. How about Jeff? You got a name for your guy?
Let's go with Aku.
Aku. Okay. Do you have a surname as well, or not?
Numerian surnames follow in the same naming pattern.
So just for those listening at home, what we're reading is that Numerian surnames follow the same naming pattern as female first names. One is named for their mother's line or her furthest back known female ancestor. Frequently, the firstborn girl will be given the same name as her ancestor, and thus her first name and last name will repeat.
So I pick a female name as my surname. Is that?
Yeah, that will be one of your distant ancestors.
Okay. Let's go with Yisu.
Yisu, cool. Aku Yisu. Okay.
Yisu.
So you guys were talking about now the belief, the other belief. So what is it that, Jeff, do you think that you believe about Grimir?
Okay, let me scroll back up to the beliefs real quick.
That's on page 9.
Do you put them in the same kind of form?
Yeah, same kind of type of form. So the example, the example that they gave was that one about one of the characters knowing the other character's father and then wanting to treat her like as if he was or she was his own.
So Grimjir has shown me kindness. So I'll do anything to protect him.
Love it. That is really cool.
All right.
Okay. Steve, what about you? What does Grimir believe about Aku?
Okay. For some reason, this man shows me great loyalty. For that, I honor him.
Okay. So loyalty is quite important to your character.
Yes. Yes, being what he feels is loyal to principle.
Okay. So is it just enough? So it's interesting. So he values both loyalty and he values his old beliefs.
Exactly. He feels those go together. He's loyal to his ancient gods. They respect loyalty.
Yeah. So do you pay, like, is it repay loyalty in kind? That's what your thought is with Aku?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's giving you the succinct version again?
Okay. So for some reason, this man shows me great loyalty and behaves with honor. As such, I will treat him with honor in the ways in accordance with the old ways.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Okay. So the last thing, guys, is the self-belief, and here's the examples that they give are: I am of Eskarn blood, and the Ainorn are my kinsmen, and the Tarnish have caused much wrong to my people. I will uphold my bonds of blood and clan before those of gold or fealty. And another one is: I have always resented being a bastard. I can lead the house better than my half-brother and will use subterfuge to ensure that I sit upon my father's throne. So again, these are intended to be sort of ways to sort of spurn you into action or into adventure. And mechanically, they're the things that are, when you act according to your beliefs, then you get tenacity back. So what do you think about yourself? Oh, I got a sneeze percolating. Excuse me.
Just writing it down for me.
Sure.
Okay, so I've always been made to feel worthless, so I'll do what I can to show my value.
Love it.
I am a powerful blooded in a world of fellows who will not act. I must therefore do what I can to preserve the ancient ones.
Okay. Okay, so all of your stuff, Steve, is great, and it's very much setting up the reasons why your character would, would act. So it's going to be important when we play to make sure that you do that. It should be
okay.
It should be very easy for me to motivate your character to do anything related to these things, because you've set up as, and this which is exactly what you want. It's part of what the game intends, is that it gives a clear idea to the game master, or what do they call it? Arbiter, they call it in this game. An easy way for us to motivate you, to figure out, to get you moving into the story.
Okay.
Okay, so the final thing you guys are going to pick story-wise, guys, is starting on page 10, and then going 10, 11, and 12 are a list of complications. And this is sort of the less beneficial and less glamorous side of your character's personality. You can pick 2 if you choose to, but to be honest, I'm not fussed one way or the other. The benefit of picking 2 is that, just like your beliefs, if you play up a complication where it causes problems in a scene, then you get tenacity back. And these can be both personality or physical things. You'll see, like, dwarf is one, crippled is another,
Deviant.
Yeah.
I think probably fanatic.
Fanatic, nice. Okay.
Well, I think I'm gonna go with disfigured.
Disfigured, nice.
Elephant Man.
Cool. So what do you think your disfigurement is?
It's a facial disfigurement. He's got I don't know, some rare condition of, like extra skin or extra growth, so his face just looks like disfigured in some way. His eyebrow kind of droops over his one eye. His cheek kind of sags. Like he's kind of gross to look at.
Love it.
You want some antlers? I can give you some antlers.
Okay, so that's really good. So do you guys feel like you've got a really good picture of who your character is now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so then let's move on to the mechanical component. The next thing, guys, is we're going to pick your attributes. Attributes start at 0, and you have 5 points to distribute amongst them. The attributes are strength, dexterity, mind, and presence. And those are strength and dexterity. Obviously, I think you can figure out what those are. Mind is sort of both your willpower and your intellect, and presence is your force of personality. You can distribute 5 points amongst them. If you want to see what those attributes are used for, page 13 and 14 has them. And then actually 14 tells you what your derived stats will, how you will use your primary stats to get those. once you've spent your attribute points, let me know how you spend them.
My blood is uses either mind or presence.
Yeah, you pick one of them.
Okay.
I just want to quickly look at the traits I want, make sure I don't block myself out.
Sure. One other thing you might want to consider, guys, is if you take a look on page 16, that tells you what attributes those skills use. Maybe now's a good time to tell you about, now that we're getting into the mechanics, to tell you about the mechanics of this game. So this is, like I said, it's the way that the author describes the game is D&D meets Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire. Not surprisingly, the mechanics, the core mechanic is a D20. So you're using a D20 to make all your dice rolls. You will add your relevant attribute. So if you're swinging with a sword, you're going to add your strength stat. If you have a stat of 4 strength, you're going to add 4 to your dice roll. You also can sometimes add your skill, and your skills are measured, just like in Savage Worlds, by sizes of dice, ranging from D4 up to D12. So let's say that you are moderately skilled with fighting, and your strength is a 2, then what you would be doing is rolling 1d20, 1d8, and adding 2 to the result. You add it all together, and then that'll tell you what your dice result is.
Mm. Do these ever go up throughout the course of the game?
Yes, they do. In the course of, as you go through different chapters, you will gain, basically, what is it? Every 3 chapters, you gain a new attribute point. Every chapter, you gain +1 trait and +2 skill points.
Mm.
If we find that your characters are starting off as chumps, we can always bump the chapters up. To be honest, I'm not fussed with whether we're playing balanced characters or whatever. In fact, if you want, because we're making really good time right now for the session. One of the optional rules is to play what's called a saga approach, and the saga approach is you basically you create each of you creates 3 different characters. One of them is your main character, the protagonist. Protagonist starts with 10 traits. So you look as if you're in chapter 10, which means more attributes, more skills, more traits. The second character is your major character, who begins with 5 traits, just like a starting, or kind of like a starting character. And then 1 is a minor character. And then what happens is you pick one of those to play each session. And if one of them dies, then the next one below it sort of shifts up. So if your protagonist dies, your main character or major character becomes your protagonist, and so forth. So if let's start with, well, let's start with starting characters now, and then what we can do is we can bump it up in the course of play.
Okay.
Okay. And I've just gone immediately back on what I suggested, but
so start with 5 attribute points.
You start with 5 attribute points. That's right, and 3 traits.
Hmm.
And just let me know, guys, if you have any questions or if you've got your attribute points spent. Oh, you cannot buy your attributes down, too. I just
Okay, 3 traits.
I got this like blueberry superfruit tea, and I keep wanting to like it, and it's just not good.
What does it taste like?
It kind of tastes like armpit and like blueberry Eggo waffles.
Mm.
Yeah, so not great, but I keep drinking it. Oh, I believe I've shaken my cold, though.
You can't stop. There you go. You sound good. Sound energetic.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm feeling today's the first day I felt really back to normal. Good night's sleep tonight, and I will be ready for the weekend. Wait, it's only Wednesday. No, I won't. I'll be ready for the Thursday.
All
okay.
Right.
Have you guys spent your attributes yet? Or are you leaning anyway?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put 3 in mind, I think,
Okay.
and then I think 1 in strength and 1 in dexterity.
Okay, so you got 0 in presence.
Yeah.
So your character is extremely driven, but you're not necessarily convincing other people to go along with you, which fits with your beliefs and your and whatnot.
Right.
Okay. How about Aku? Is your character coming together, Jeff?
Yeah, this is tough.
What are you suffering over? How many points put into strength?
Yeah, just like, well, strength is, if I'm trying to make him a fighter, like strength is kind of important.
Yep.
Dexterity is important because that's how hard he is to hit.
Yep.
I need at least, I was thinking I wanted a mind of at least 1 because I wanted to take the traveled trait.
Okay.
And a presence is important because it gives you your base tenacity.
Okay. So if
you're using the trait of Scrapper has a tenacity spend.
Scrapper has a tenacity.
So when you spend 1 tenacity to gain advantage on an unarmed attack, that attack inflicts wounds as if you were armed.
Badass.
So I also want to have some tenacity, right? So
yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is strength of 1.
Yep.
Dex of 2.
Okay.
Mind of 1. And presence of 1.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So let's take a look at your derived stats. So your vitality is how many wounds you can take before you die. This game is extremely unforgiving with your hit points. When you lose your vitality, you are dead, full stop. So you will want to make sure that if you start taking, you will want to, I think, respond more realistically to seeing your hit points go down than we do sometimes in other role-playing games. So your vitality starts as 3 plus your strength, and it can be modified by stats or by traits as well. That means Steve Grimnir has vitality of 4, as does Aku. The evasion, this is how hard you are to hit, begins with 10 plus your dexterity. So Jeff, you're at 12, and Steve, you are at 11. And your armor, which is, we'll deal with that in a moment. The alacrity is how fast you act. It's effectively your initiative stat. Your alacrity is, let's see, your dex plus mind plus other modifiers. So Jeff, you've got an alacrity of 3. And Steve, alacrity of 4. Interesting. Tenacity, again, that's the one that you can spend it to gain advantage on a single check or to give advantage to another character. It costs you 1 for each of those. 1 plus your presence. So Jeff, Aku's tenacity is a 2, and Steve Grimnir's is a 1.
Okay.
Now, Steve, you're going to be taking blooded, so your power currently is starts at a 10. And that's how many points of power you have to draw on.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Next up will be skills. So skills are a little bit, or can be a little bit complicated. So it's on page 16 of the core rulebook. You have 5 points to spend on skills. Is that right? 5? Hold on. Maybe it's more.
I think it was 6.
Yeah, 6 points. Forgive me. So you have 6 points to spend on your skills. It's 1 point for each rank. But the thing is that you need to have, let's see here, a number of other skills equal to the rank that you want to buy. So, for instance, if you want to buy rank 3 in, say, fighting, you have to have at least 3 other skills.
Okay.
No, sorry, in total. In total.
Okay.
So if you wanted to have, I think that the way it works is basically 3 is the highest you can buy a skill to start with, because you could spend 3 to get the rank 3, and then 1 and 1, and then if you spend 1 more point, you're out of points. So you couldn't buy another one.
Okay.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not explaining it the worst way possible. The list of skills are on page 16 as well, too. There's not an awful lot of skills in the game. Just to let you know what some of these are, too. Fighting is obviously you're fighting. It's using hand-to-hand weapons. Archery under dexterity is using any ranged weapons. Thievery is sort of anything that is sort of, sleight of hand, disarming traps, that kind of stuff. Stealth is moving, without being detected. Learned is your education. They don't divide it into different sort of scholarly areas. It's just if you are well schooled, you may know a lot about a lot of different things. Survival is obviously survival. Perception is perception. Apothecary is if you want to be an alchemist. Now, the subsystems for alchemy in the game are really interesting. You can find them on page, where is it here? Boy, where are you? There's like 2 pages in it too. Where are you? Alchemy is closer. I'm trying to think what other games this is sort of like. Alchemy, you do need to plan ahead of time, so you need to make this stuff beforehand. Apothecary is on page 52. 52 and 53 gives you the stuff you can make with it, but there's some neat things in there, like Greek fire type stuff, like or wildfire from Game of Thrones, where you can throw it and it explodes in the flame. There's different poisons you can make. There's different sort of augmenting powers you can get to. There's things that can let you see in the dark. So if you do want to play an alchemist type character, you're going to want to take points in Apothecary. And then the final skills here, intimidation makes sense. Performance, I think, makes sense as well. Manipulation as opposed to intimidation is that you're trying to get them to do something. Manipulation covers both positive and negative as well. It's whether you're trying to be honest or dishonest, just charming or fast talking. Insight is the social equivalent of perception, and then the final one is blood, Steve, which will of course be of interest to you.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and spend your points, guys, and then let me know once you've spent your skill points, and I will fill in the character sheets accordingly.
Okay, well, I think for now I will take 3 in blood.
3 in blood, okay.
And then 1 in each of the following.
Yep.
Fighting, learned, and survival.
So fighting's at a D4, learned is at a D4, survival's at a D4. Nice. Okay. Jeff, how are you spending your points? Is this a difficult one as well?
Yeah. Can't quite do what I wanted to do, but that's okay. Their math is weird.
Yeah, one of the things that I found not concerning. I mean, you know what, guys, because we're unlikely to play this game beyond past the one shot anyway, unless this turns out to be like an amazing fucking play. Let's just go nuts, and we are going to say.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. All I was trying to do, I want
you guys to be able to dip into some of the more fun stuff. So let's say we're in chapter 7. So we're just starting at the second half of our book. That means you guys have 6 attribute points. So go ahead and add 1 more to your attributes. You will have 7 traits as opposed to 3, and you'll have 14 skill points.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge difference in skill points.
How's that sound, guys?
All right.
That way, because a lot of the traits have requirements of master level for certain skills, which is nuts because you can't get to master level. Master level requires you to have 5 other skills, right? Or 5
And
skills total.
And we'll never get there, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily that. It's just that if it would mean that you would be to like sort of streamline your way up to master, you'd basically be a spaz in other things. Because it would take you, Steve, for instance, basically it would take 2 points to go up 1 in your primary sort of skill. Because you have to keep taking new skills. You need to have, in order to take a master skill,
Right.
which is rank 5, you need to have 5 skills in total. And like I understand the mechanical reason for that balancing thing, but
Right.
it means that, let's see here. If you're starting at a D8, it means you need 2, 4. You would need 4 more, so you'd need to have 9 or 10 skill points in order to get 1 of them at master and then the rest at D4.
Right.
Which you could do by chapter 5, but yeah, I'd sooner
I'm
see you
gonna
guys.
increase my strength to 2.
Your strength is 2. Okay, Steve, which stat are you bumping up?
Let's see here. Remember reactions, alacrity, blooded traits. Let's go. And your skill level can exceed your attribute level, obviously.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
your skills can be up to rank 5. It's just that you have to have a number of skills equal to whatever your highest rank is.
Right. Now my mind is already a 3, and I've got a strength and a dexterity of 1. Let's go dexterity 2.
Dexterity 2, okay. That means that your evasion is up to a 12. Okay. Now, yeah, so go ahead. You guys spent, excuse me. Oh, gosh, I was taunting my cold. It came back with a vengeance. You now have an extra 8 points, 8 skill points to spend.
Nice. Okay.
Then you have 7 traits.
Okay.
So let me know what ways you spend your points, and then we will see how it. Then we'll turn to talents or traits rather. Now, one of the things they do not do in the game is tell you how to, do gear. They give a listing on the armor for rarity, but there's no guidance as to what the hell you do with that information. There's either common or rare, and then they give you no suggestions as to what that means in the game.
Right.
So, yeah. So I guess the long and the short of it is that I'm going to let you take whatever gear you want. There's no list of other equipment in the game. There's only like the listing of armor that has some stats. One interesting thing in the game too is weapons do not have damage. Weapons just have you. If you have certain traits, it will modify how your weapon works. But there's not like a longsword does X amount of damage and whatever.
All right. Sure. Are you taking insight by any chance, Jeff?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Are you taking intimidation?
I was going to, yeah.
Okay. Can you take more than master?
No, master is as good as you're going to get.
All
and
right.
with master, you would roll a d12. So your roll would be a d20 plus a d12 plus whatever your stat is.
Okay.
This is great too, because then I can really go to my, great lengths to try and kill you guys.
Excellent.
Okay. How are you guys doing on skill spending?
I think, yeah. Oh, wait, I need one more, though. Darn it.
Here, Steve, is a pretty cool, there's a picture of a cool-looking Einorn warrior.
Oh, yeah. It's my kind of girl.
Pretty badass, eh? Like I said, the art in here is really fucking cool. Really supports the tone.
Do you want my skill list?
Yes, please.
Okay. Fighting 4.
Nice.
Stealth 2.
Okay, it's a D6.
Survival 3.
The D8.
Perception 2.
Nice. That's a D6.
Intimidation 2.
Nice. D6 as well.
And insight of 1.
1. Nice. D4. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so you're sneaky, scary, and you got some insight into folks. Cool.
And I can survive.
And you can survive in the wild. Yes, you're not going to die when you sleep outside for one night. Steve, have you spent your skills?
Yes.
Okay.
Fighting 3.
Fighting 3. Nice. So it's a D4, D8 rather. Go ahead.
Okay. Learned 2.
Nice. D6.
Survival 2.
The D6 as well.
Apothecary 1.
Nice. D4.
And Perception 1.
Perception 1 is a D4 as well. Okay.
And then Blood 5.
Blood 5. Ooh, ha ha ha. It's a D12. Big fat D12. Nice. What stat is your, I guess, mind, obviously?
Mind.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Then you now have 7 traits you can spend. Here's another example of the weird. So they start on page 19, guys. And this is another one of those examples where there's just weird. There's sometimes some weird shit that's thrown in here, and there's no context that's really given for it. Like they give you this little weird thing here where it says, it gives you titles for your different levels of traits. So 1 to 4 traits means you're a huntsman. 2 to 8 means you're a sellsword. And then, 9 to 12 means you're an elite assassin. There's no explanation provided as to what the hell that means or how that comes into play. Like it's just like it feels like a transcribed version of sort of like crib notes on a game system that were then published. They're interesting, and I would like to know what the thought process was behind there, because it does have kind of a fun like old school D&D vibe to it. But
yeah. Okay, the first trait I'm going to take is traveled.
I'm just going to grab my sheet that has your traits on them. Okay, traveled.
Is 1 line.
Yep.
And it increases 3 different skills, 1 rank.
Nice.
So I'm going to raise my fighting to a 5.
Ooh, beautiful. Okay.
My insight to a 2.
Okay. Your insight to a 2. Okay, yep.
And my intimidation to a 3.
Wow, nice.
So where does that come from?
Traveled is in the trait section.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the other, the organization of the traits in this is just bonkers.
It's a little weird. They're not all necessarily
together.
No,
like some of them are collected by prerequisites, where they're like the first one you'll need is there and then it goes down. But otherwise there's a broad sort of like, it seems like melee weapons, then like ranged weapons kind of, and then armor stuff, and then like trade stuff, but it's not clear, and they're not alphabetical, which is just
they're not alphabetical. I'm noticing this.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second one I'm going to take is the prerequisite is strength of 1. The benefit is +1 vitality.
Oh, sorry, Jeff, I think you cut out. Which one was it?
Tough.
Tough. Nice. Okay.
Gives you +1 vitality.
Nice. Your vitality is now
+2
6.
armor when unarmored.
Okay.
And you have a desperate action, which I'm not sure what that means yet.
Okay, maybe sorry, I should explain what this. So what a desperate action is, guys, is kind of like an encounter ability in 4th edition D&D. It is something that you can use, but then you need to take a rest before you can use it again. And you can use as many desperate actions as you want. It just can't use the same one, but without taking a rest.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, what is the tough desperate action?
When you would take more than 1 wound from a single attack, you may reduce it to 1.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Do you have more? More pick,
Yeah,
or
the
should we
next
go
one is Scrapper.
Scrapper? Nice. I think I know what that one does.
Yeah,
Let's see.
it's,
For the sake of Steve-O and the listeners at home.
it does. The benefit is +3 chance of major wounds when making unarmed fighting skill checks.
Okay, let's quickly talk about what major wounds are. So when you attack with a weapon, if you hit, absent any other factors, you will do one wound, and it's a normal. You've cut someone in the ribs or whatever. If you roll a number that is 20 minus your governing attribute, so your dex with a dex attack, your strength attack, plus other modifiers, then you do a major wound, which means it does 2 points of damage or 2 wounds. If you happen to roll, and what you're rolling against, this is only on the d20, and it is independent of whether you hit or not. If you miss, then you don't hit. But if you hit and you also roll one of those numbers, then you deal a major wound as opposed to minor. So what this would do for you, Jeff, you got a strength of 2, plus you got this thing. That means when you roll a 16 or higher on your d20 when you make an attack roll, when you're unarmed, you deal a major wound.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. It also
the second benefit is when I spend 1 tenacity to gain advantage on an unarmed attack, that attack inflicts wounds as if I were armed.
Okay, so the other thing is that when you're unarmed, you only deal a minor wound. And a minor wound basically counts as half a wound. It's like 0.5 damage. So, and minor wounds heal much faster as well, too. Like it's the sort of stuff that at the end of a fight, you can kind of, nurse your bruises and whatnot, and that it'll go away. Let's see here, the other way minor wounds happen is you'll notice that you've got your evasion stat. If you're wearing armor, your armor adds on to that evasion stat to create a sort of like another range. If someone rolls to attack you and they hit you, so they hit your evasion, but it hits that armor range, then you take half damage. That either means a wound becomes a minor wound or a major wound becomes a regular wound. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you got Scrapper. What else you got?
Okay. I'm going to take Light-Footed.
Light-Footed?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay.
The prereq is Dexterity 2. The benefit is +2 to Alacrity.
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 Nice. So it's like your initiative.
And +1 to my evasion if I'm not holding a weapon or a shield.
Okay. And I take it you're never going to be wearing weapon or shield, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so I'm just going to change your evasion to a 13. And then if you are not wearing armor, you also gain +2. Do you not wear armor either?
What's giving me an unarmed bonus?
Tough. Tough gives you +2 armor when you're unarmed.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes, I probably will also be getting that.
Okay, so that
and
means...
The last one is you may use your thievery skill for dexterity-based checks involving tumbling or acrobatics.
Nice.
I don't actually have any thievery at this point.
Okay.
But
okay. So it's 4 of your 7. Maybe let's swap over to Steve-O. Steve-O, you started picking some traits?
So we're supposed to be pick 7, are we?
Pick 7, yeah.
Okay.
So I think one of them obviously is you're blooded, right?
Right.
Okay. What is your next one?
I think there's a few here that I kind of like. Dirty Fighter.
Dirty Fighter, where is that?
It's on page 20, bottom right.
Okay. Oh, I see. Nice. Yeah. So the reaction. So reaction is something you do in response to something else. You guys are limited by how many reactions you have per round, equal to 1 plus your mind. And then there are other factors that can change that. So Jeff, you've got Aku has 2 reactions per turn, and Steve, you got 4.
Nice.
So Dirty Fighter gives
Actually,
you 1 reaction.
I got 5 then. Because if it's sorry, it's alacrity or is it mind?
No, mind.
Okay.
So your Dirty Fighter, so reaction, if you fail to hit with an attack from your fighting skill, you may attack again with disadvantage. That's pretty good. Holy shit. And the second one is you may choose to make fighting skill checks with disadvantage. When you make a successful fighting skill check with disadvantage, you inflict an additional wound. Wow.
Of course, the disadvantage is pretty tough, though, right?
You roll 2 dice, take the lowest, just like in 5th edition D&D.
Okay. Now, how long does it take to recharge these again?
What do you mean the well, like those 2 things? Your reaction you can use whenever you have a reaction available. The benefit is always around. It's only the desperate actions that need time to recharge.
Okay. So like if I took Reckless, which is right above Dirty Fighter,
yep,
I can choose for all my fighting skill checks and for all attacks against me to have advantage for a round.
Absolutely. That's your like sort of Berserker Rage.
Right, because there is Berserker too. And how often could I use Reckless then?
That means any round. You can choose.
Any
you
round.
can say, all right, everyone's got advantage on attacks on me, and I've got advantages on all my attacks.
Cool. Why not?
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
It fits with his fanatic style.
Okay.
I think I'll also take on page 23.
Okay.
There's 2. Actually, there's 3 there. I think I'd like Huntsman, Wilding, and Poisoner.
Okay. That would only leave you 1 more trait to pick for blooded abilities.
Oh, so that includes my spells, does it?
Yeah, yeah. Like your blooded abilities have to be picked with traits as well.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. In that case,
I'll let you take a look at the blooded traits and figure out which ones you want, because it sounds like you've pretty much which other ones you would be filling it up with. So, Jeff, let's go back to you again.
yeah.
Do you have your next trait?
Yeah. I totally feel like they're missing one, by the way. They're missing the monk trait.
The monk.
They have a trait for every fighting style, except that, like where you gain your evasion becomes 10 plus your fighting skill rank, but it's like while wielding 2 swords, while wielding a 1-handed weapon, while wielding a 2-handed weapon. They even have it while using a staff, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Lancer. Slasher.
But they don't have it like while using a stupid no weapon. That's okay.
Oh no! What about agile?
Now I'm going to take exactly. Agile is exactly the next one on my list.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yep. So +1 armor while unarmored. So that's a total of +3 unarmored.
Nice.
+1 alacrity.
Okay.
While unarmored, so up to 6.
Okay.
And +1 to my chance of major wounds while unarmored.
Nice.
So that's a total of +4.
Awesome. That's with plus your strength as well. That would be 6.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
So
15 or higher.
6 so far.
Yeah, 15 or higher does a major wound on an attack. If you
I have a reaction.
Yeah.
If you wound an unwounded character, you may attack them again with a fighting skill check.
That's awesome. So it's flurry of blows. That's pretty cool. Okay. You still have 2 more traits.
Warrior, right below it.
Yep.
Which is
+1
+1 chance of major wounds.
Okay.
go up to +7.
Nice.
I have another reaction.
Okay.
If a character ceases to be adjacent to you on their own turn, you may use your reaction to attack them.
So basically an attack of opportunity.
Yeah.
Nice.
And also a desperate action. If I inflict a major wound, I may attack again.
Holy shit.
So I can throw a lot of punches.
Absolutely. Okay.
I have one left, which I would love if they had like monk style fighting stance.
What do you mean?
They don't. I've looked at every single ability.
Like what to do what?
Well, like just that work the same as all the other fighting styles. So like for example, dual wielder. Your base evasion becomes 10 plus your fighting skill rank while dual wielding swords, daggers, maces, axes, or guitar. And then they have
Oh, sorry, the one that the base evasion, you mean?
right, and then they have like formidable. Your base evasion becomes 10 plus your fighting rank while wielding a two-handed axe, mace, or sword.
Yeah, yeah. You
Or
know
deadly.
what?
Your base evasion becomes, etc.
Call it what you want. What do you want to call that trait? It's the same for each of them anyway. So call it what you want, and we'll add it.
Sure.
Because as it stands, like you have to spend a tenacity in order to do a wound unarmed anyway, right? So like, as it stands, when you make an attack unarmed, you are doing. Okay, here's the way it works right now. Right now, when you attack unarmed, which means that you can attack always. You're always armed, so that's the advantage of that. You can spend a tenacity and then do a wound on a normal hit, or when you do a major wound, do a major wound. Without spending tenacity, your unarmed hits do a minor wound, or when you would roll a major wound, it does a normal wound.
Right.
So that's pretty penalized. That means like all your cool abilities that trigger when you're doing major wounds, that shit only happens when you're spending tenacity, and you've only got 2 points of tenacity.
Right.
So what if instead of doing the boost from it, what it would give you is your unarmed attacks always do a wound, and you can spend a tenacity to do a major wound, and you get the evasion bonus that everyone else gets. Does that sound balanced?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Okay. So I'm doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do, which is to write my own fucking version of the rules. It'll play out the same though. Okay, so what do you want to call that that attack? Like pugilist or something like that?
Yeah, let's call it pugilist. I love that.
Pugilist. Okay, so then your evasion would become 15. Your base it's base evasion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck me. So that's amazing. So basically it's 15, and you've got 3 points of armor, so it would be recorded as 15 bracket 18.
Right, and I still would have the +1 evasion from being agile.
Yes, you
would.
would.
No, not
Yes.
agile. Sorry. Which one did that?
That was light-footed, maybe?
Oh, maybe that's light-footed, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, forgive me, it's 16, and your armor is a 19. Wow, that's
Nice.
fucking cool. Okay, cool.
That feels awesome.
Okay. Steve, have you had a chance to pick out your blooded traits?
I think I have. Mostly, yes. Let's see here. Okay, so I thought skinwalking was pretty cool, except that it's just not going to come in that handy, I don't think, unless I'm going to be biting a lot of people and antlering them, goring them with my hand.
You don't want to just put horns or antlers on yourself?
I kind of do, but it seems like a waste. All right. But I will take knit.
Knit, very cool.
And I will take wither.
There's knit.
Knit is on page 26.
Okay, cool.
Top right.
Yeah, thank you. So knit costs 2 power. Cool. So that's cool. That's actually really handy because that's effectively your healing thing. So sorry,
Right.
Steve. Knit, and what's the next one?
I'm gonna go Wither.
Very cool.
Good old Wither. And I've got space for one more spell. I haven't quite picked that one yet, but then I've got 3 other traits.
Mine's hold on.
I'm gonna pick.
Chance of major wounds is mind plus presence. So major wound on 20, I think 17 or higher. Let me
Nice.
give me 1 second here, guys. I just want to make yours actually. Your major wound actually might be 1 higher, Jeff. So double check here. One of the benefits of having such a short rule book, it is easy to look shit up.
Yeah.
Okay. So major wounds is 20 minus attribute minus traits. So yeah, it'll be 17 or higher. And Jeff, for you, your chance of, you said it's 7. 13 or higher is your chance of major wounds when you're unarmed.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay. And sorry, Steve, I interrupted you. So you did Wither, and then what's the next one?
And then I want to pick one more spell, but I haven't decided that just yet. But I have 3 traits or 3 other ones from the non-magic list for you.
Well, you've only got 2 more you can pick.
Let's take Blooded Knit Wither. That's 3.
Plus Dirty Fighter, Reckless.
Oh, I was gonna get rid of Dirty Fighter and Reckless. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Steve. Okay, those are gone. All right. So you still got that was 1. So it's 2, 3. You got 4 more you can pick.
4 more I can pick. Okay. Well, I think I'll pick Poisoner and Poulticer, which are right beside each other.
Okay.
On 23.
Poisoner, which bumps your Apothecary skill up by 1. Very cool.
All right. So does Poulticer.
Yeah. So it becomes that's a Poisoner actually.
Right.
I'm sorry. So you may spend a Tenacity to automatically succeed at a strength check against poison. You have advantage on all strength checks against poison. Advantage on all Apothecary skills to diagnose or identify poison. That's gonna be actually really fucking cool for this particular the adventure I got in mind.
Okay.
CR to resist all poisons you create is increased by 2. That's very good. And that Poulticer, what does that do? You spend 1 point of tenacity to use a raw herb as if brewed. That's cool. You gain advantage on all survival checks. That's badass. You may find twice as many herbs while foraging. CR for all your poisons and potions is decreased by 2. That's for crafting them. And Apothecary goes up by 1.
Boom.
Okay, so Apothecary is now a D8.
That's a loaded trait.
Yeah, it is.
A ton of cool shit in there.
So it looks like I'm going to be making some potions. All right.
Cool. So you got, and that, you know what? I am really, really glad you picked that. The 2 things I wanted to see what you guys would do with are the Apothecary rules and the Blooded rules. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Combine it. I will also take the Savage quality.
Savage quality. Cool. What does that give you?
That is on page 21, middle left.
Okay. Savage. +1 chance of major wounds for every 2 wounds you have. Oh, cool. So like as you're getting beaten down, you go berserk.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if I receive a major wound and is not mitigated by armor, I can attack.
Okay. Nice.
And desperate action, I can take a wound to make an attack with my fighting skill an additional time this turn.
Nice. And with knit, cool. You could heal yourself back up afterwards too. Knitting in this incidentally is extremely fucking painful.
Okay.
Yeah. Like there's not, you can still do it, Steve, and like there's not really any mechanical penalties. It's just like thematically in the game, it's fucking painful. It's
okay. Interesting.
Brutal and visceral. Okay, and what's your final one?
I'm just trying to pick a last spell here. Maybe Shambler.
Okay, Shambler. Incidentally, you don't need to make Risen or Thralls out of humans. You can make it out of anything. Dogs, boars, bears.
Well, okay, so how long does it take for people to become risen after I killed him with Wither?
What does it say?
It was usually like a certain number of hours.
Characters killed by this type become uncontrolled risen after an hour.
After an hour. Okay, so it's not immediately. Whereas Shambler rises for a minute.
A nearby corpse is risen that rapidly decays over the next minute. So let's see, what is the upside to that versus raise? Raise costs more. Yeah, so raise costs 1 more power. I'm not 100% sure why. I mean, I guess maybe we'll see this in play, but the 1 point cost difference between the two, to me, it seems like Shambler costs you 2 power to cast, and you. Oh, I guess you're not restricted by how many Shamblers you have, though. You can never have more risen than 1 plus your mind or your presence.
Okay.
Whereas Shambler doesn't have that restriction, so I guess if you want to just like raise up a bunch of fucking, crazy monster things.
How long are rounds in this game, Kev?
It's roughly 6 seconds-ish.
So same normal. So it's like 10 rounds you get a Shambler for?
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the difference.
Well, the nice thing about a Shambler, though, Kev, actually is that they fade away.
Yeah, and also, like, if you die, you're not going to have a bunch of risen that are uncontrolled immediately.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, if you use raise, you've now got this thing following you until you die or it dies.
Yeah.
Okay. I might go with Rip, which is kind of cool, where my next blooded attack restores 1 power for each wound inflicted. But it's a desperate action.
So you use that once per rest.
Once per rest, eh? My next blooded ability inflicts wounds on me equal to its power cost, but takes no power. So I could use either one of those?
Yeah, you could use Wither or Knit.
Oh, so you can pay wounds instead of power.
Yeah.
To do a blooded ability.
Interesting. What do you think? What do we think? It is kind of a desperate action. What do you think, Jeff?
I like both Shambler and Rip.
And the Arbiter, this Tenacity.
Rip is kind of interesting. It's a good desperation thing.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you run out of power, you could be in trouble, whereas Rip will at least let you kind of do 1 more spell.
Right.
How much power does he have, Kev?
He has 10 power right now.
And is that also his max?
It is his max. Yeah, it's 10. It can be modified by traits, but then you get all your power points back during a rest.
So you basically have 10 power per day.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's your vitality?
What is my vitality?
Your vitality is a 4.
Well, then Rip's a little dangerous.
Yeah, because you've only got 4. Remember, when you run out of vitality, tells you how many wounds you can take.
Okay. I have another spell, Innervate, that could give you 1 tenacity.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Oh, that's cool. Because I really need it.
You do, hey?
You do need a presence of 4 to take that, though.
Oh, shoot, I do.
Oh, that's too bad.
Mind 2, Presence 2, Dexterity 3, Burst, Strength 5. I can't get a lot of these. Quicken. Use another blooded ability. Its power cost is doubled, but then reduce the amount equal to my dexterity.
So,
are you going to wear armor? Well, actually, do you have a strength of 1?
Yeah, I have a strength of 1. Yep.
Like, if you're not going to wear armor, then tough might be good.
Actually, Flesh Ward would be pretty cool on page 25.
Each rest gain armor equal to your strength. This bonus only affects if you are unarmored. When you receive a wound or major wound, this bonus is lost. Fresh Word does not stack with itself. Desperate action have any number of wounds taken in a single attack as if by armor. When unarmored, your flesh grants you +3 armor. Benefit, and that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good stack of stuff. So basically, what you'd have is an evasion of 13, and then you would have an armor of 4. But then as soon as your armor blocked 1 hit, it would go down to a 3 until you rested again. And then you also have that desperate action to, if you get tagged with someone who's got a bunch of badass traits that like hits you with a major wound that also adds 1 extra wound to it. So instead of taking 3, you could have it round down.
Which tough does something very similar. Tough gives you +1 vitality, +2 armor while unarmored, and as a desperate action, when you would take more than 1 wound from a single attack, you can reduce it to 1.
So the upside is you get more armor from Flesh Ward.
But tough is always operative.
But tough is always operative, and you get +1 evasion from Flesh Ward, but you get +1 vitality from tough.
Maybe we go with tough.
Tough, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it means Knit and Wither are your 2 blooded abilities.
Yeah.
You can put things together and tear it apart.
Exactly.
Okay, so vitality is 5, +2 armor when you're unarmored. So that means your vitality is or your evasion is a 12 bracket 14, and you got the desperate action to have the wounds. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We got 15 minutes here left here, guys. So do you have a dice roller open, or do you have dice handy?
I got 2d6.
We will need it's actually a assortment, like a basic D&D assortment of dice is what you guys would need.
20. Here we go.
Nice. Okay. I was going to run to the washroom quickly. I'll be right back.
Yeah, the spells are all, I mean, they kind of overlap. They're sort of offensive or defensive spells, so I think I'll use we'll use our apothecary potion making skills for variety.
All right. So, Jeff's grabbing his doish. Hey, guys.
All right.
So since you guys are both really good with survival, I think where our scene opens is with you guys around a campfire. Steve, you are looking, if you look at page 52 and 53, tell me what herb you are looking for. I think that's obviously one thing you always keep an eye out for.
What page?
52 and 53.
Interesting. Nightfoil.
Nice. Okay. So, Steve, would you kindly give me an apothecary check, please?
Apothecary.
Oh, sorry. You can use apothecary or survival to find it, and then use apothecary to make it. But I think your apothecary is better.
That's right.
So the apothecary. So what you're going to roll? Your apothecary is a D8. So you're
Right.
always going to roll a d20. It's a d20 plus a d8 plus your mind, so plus 3. Tell me how
D8 plus D20 plus 3.
Yep.
All right. Well, D20 is 17. Nice. D8 is a 3 plus 3. So we've got 23.
23. Now, okay, so you absolutely found some night foil. So we've eaten raw. That's nice because we're going to resist poison. So I think, what do you need here? So it doesn't tell you how long it takes. So let's just make you're sitting, maybe you got your little apothecary kit and you are crafting this thing over the campfire. Give me an apothecary roll, please. It's CR10 is what you need. So you just need to, it's basically, you need a 7 or higher on the D20 and D8 together. So
I just rolled a natural 20. So there you go.
so yeah, you absolutely made it.
Nice.
In fact, I'll say you made you need 2 doses of it.
Nice.
And doesn't
I think I get 2 doses. I think I get double doses from.
So you get 4. That's right, because your poultice sword gives you 2.
Nice.
So you're making that stuff while he's busy, crafting away and muttering. What does Grimnir and Aku look like anyway, guys? What do these 2 misfits look like?
My guy's covered in sort of wolf skins, and he's got sort of a staff with sort of little charms kind of hanging off it.
Okay. Jeff, what does Aku look like?
Grizzled.
He's a fairly big dude. Like I said, he's got the face deformity that I sort of described before. Other than that, he's got a beard, sort of a thick beard, short but thick hair, and he's sort of got just normal traveler's clothes on.
Oh, you guys back?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a little hiccup there. Well, I think we all did. I lost Steve as well, too.
Weird. It's like Google crash.
That's weird. Well, I guess we're all back.
So how much of that did you get?
I didn't get your results.
Oh, okay. Did you get the whole description?
No, I didn't at all. Sorry.
Oh, and I didn't hear you ask for a roll.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jeff. I didn't hear your description of your character, and I didn't hear your role. Steve, did you hear me ask for a role?
Not for a roll, no.
Okay. So let's hear your description first, Jeff, of what Aku looks like.
Okay, so I was saying he had the facial sort of deformities I described before, the eyebrow, his cheek. He's got a thick but short beard and thick but short hair. And he's just wearing sort of normal traveler's clothes of this area.
Okay. So that was probably an Escarn type clothing too. So you're probably dressed in like skins and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So what I'd asked for is if Grimnir could give me a mind and blooded check, and Aku could give me a mind and perception check, please.
All right.
Okay, so how do we do this?
It's D20 plus whatever the dice is for your skill. So for you, it's a D6 plus your attribute. So your mind is a +1.
Okay, so D20, D8, and 3.
Yeah, let me make a.
D20.
Oh, I see. So it's D20 plus D6 plus mine.
That's right.
I got 14.
14, nice. Okay.
8.
8. Okay. So, Steve, you are busy, futzing away with your alchemy stuff. You got like your mortar and pestle there, and you've got little tongs that you're using to sort of push something out onto the fire a little more. And you're making sure that things don't boil over and whatnot. What do you think Aku is doing, Jeff?
Maybe he's preparing supper for us.
Okay, so he's skinning something and pulling it off. Because of that, you're distracted, Aku. You're not really paying full enough attention to your surroundings. But Steve, you still have your blooded senses that are sort of, that are reaching out into the natural world. This is in particular where you feel most at home. And that's when you feel that there is a big chunk of wrong that is moving its way on the edge of the campsite. There is something there that is an aberration of nature. What do you do?
I tap. What's your name, Jeff?
Aku.
Aku. I tap Aku and just sort of give him a look that says "Be quiet" in that direction.
Okay.
And I prepare myself.
Okay.
For something negative.
Aku, what do you do?
Put down the little cleaning knife or whatever I was working on, and the game file or whatever we have, and pay attention in the direction that he's pointing.
Okay. You can be wielding whatever you like. Incidentally, Steve, like I'm not fussed. It can be a hardened staff. Weapons, like I said, they don't really. There's a narrative element to them, but there's not really like a difference in damage.
Okay.
So whatever sounds cool to you is fine.
Yeah, I like my staff.
Okay. What you with a good your perception was good enough, Jeff, that you can hear something kind of big that's making its way through the bushes at the edge. You can picture this part is a very thick primordial forest kind of area. There's big mountains that are now shrouding out a big chunk of the darkened sky, but otherwise stars, are wild above you. Why don't you give me because you're going to have a chance to take a closer look here. Give me a perception check for you, actually both of you guys, but you're going to do it at disadvantage. So what that means is roll 2d20 and take the lowest result, and then add that to your perception skill and your mind.
Perception skill, which is a 1. Oh, nice.
So I got a 12.
12, okay. So Steve, yours would be 2d20, and whichever one's the lowest, plus 1d4 plus 3.
That would make a 8.
8, okay. What was yours, Jeff?
12.
Oh, okay. Let's see here.
No likey.
You mean no CE?
No CE.
Okay. So this thing that's moving out there, Jeff, you have a split second to sort of see the. Whoa. So before you see this giant ridged mane of fur along this enormous form that moves in the forest, and then suddenly, moves. It jumps forward. Now, this thing has an alacrity of 0. Aku has an alacrity of 6, and Grimnir has an alacrity of 4. So Aku will go, then Grimnir, then this thing. So if you guys want to ready an action, you're free to do that. Aku, you'd be up first. This thing is planning. It's going to charge in and try and get at you guys.
Okay, I stand up and I move between the unknown beast and Grimnir.
Okay. So I'll let you do that for free. Did you want to ready an action as well? Like
yeah,
if X?
Already like a fighting attack, so ready my fists.
Okay. And I'll just quickly refer you guys to the advice they give on narrating combat. So what they suggest, oops, that's not the combat section, it's the DM section, is So that the steps are: the player states your intent, player makes a roll, player reports the roll, arbiter checks, which is the check safe that you hit, and then the arbiter narrates. But I'll let you guys narrate if you want instead. If you want to get ideas for what words to use, take a look on page 87. They give you some ideas for words to sort of pepper your combat descriptions with, right at the bottom. So this thing is going to charge snarling out of the woods at you guys. And what you'll see as soon as it moves out is that this is a enormous boar that stands about its the top of the crest, I guess, of its back is about the same height as your shoulders, Aku. It's just enormous, and
Wow.
this thing is coming charging out. Your reaction is to whack this thing with your fist, he said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now that I see what
then,
it is, I'll try and punch it right in the snout.
nice. And then, so let's do your action first, and then Steve, you can describe your ready to action. So here's the way the attack works, Jeff, is you're going to roll a d20, and you're going to roll your fighting, and you're going to add your strength. And then you're going to take a look on the d20. If you roll a 13 or higher, you cause a major wound.
Mm.
And I can spend a tenacity
You can, yeah.
to... Wait, I need to find a d12. There we go. I can spend a tenacity, and then this attack will be as if I'm armed.
And this will be a point, Jeff, where you point out to me, the fucking negligent DM, that, hey, dumbass, I just moved in to protect him, which is part of my belief, so I get a tenacity for it.
Oh, right.
Okay? So you move in, you get an extra tenacity.
Right, if I act on any of my beliefs or my disfigured,
Your complication, yeah.
then I can gain it. Okay.
Absolutely. So, and yeah, you can spend a tenacity to gain advantage on the roll as well. So what would you like to do?
Spend tenacity. So my scrapper is when you spend one tenacity to gain advantage on an unarmed attack, that attack inflicts wounds as if you were armed.
Nice, okay.
So what's advantage? Oh, that means I roll 2d6?
Okay, now remember
Or
that
2d20, I mean?
with what we decided is because of your pugilist thing, that would now mean you do a major wound.
Right.
And then that would just be one extra. If you roll a major wound as well, that just is one extra. You would do 3 wounds.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
Oh, nice. 15 plus 7 is 22 plus 2 is 24.
Wow. Okay, so you not only hit, you also caused a major wound. So
yeah,
this thing, you realize as it gets in, one of its eyes is completely cataract over, and the other one is grown over with this blackened moss. It stinks like rotting meat as well. Nice. This thing charges in, and what do you do to hit this thing?
So the first blow is like right down on the top of its snout. I'm trying to break its nose.
Yep. So
I'm
yeah,
guessing by a major wound, I probably succeeded.
Absolutely. So here's the other neat thing too, is that you describe each wound because they take, excuse me, so much time to heal. So you would, just like in, they don't recommend this, but this is the way I would do it, is just like in Blades in the Dark, we would record what each of those things are. So you did 3 wounds, which is a shattered snout.
Nice.
I'm
missing my warrior trait.
Yep.
And I'll use its desperate action. If you inflict a major wound, you may attack again.
Do it. So wham, you hit this thing, you can feel it collapse under you, and you use the momentum of this charging hog to bring a second attack in.
Well, that's a terrible roll. 2, 4. It's a 6.
6. A
That's
6 is a
amazing.
miss altogether. Unfortunately, this thing, you misjudge the size of it, and it throws you well off balance. Your other blow just goes wild over it. This thing is so much bigger and tougher and faster than you thought.
Yeah.
Steve, what are you doing? What is Grimnir doing?
Grimnir, well, I guess, I mean, he sees what's going on. He doesn't have much choice, so he's going to grab his staff, bring it up to the left, and then try to bring it down right into the cheekbone, trying to cause this thing some pain and help make it think twice about attacking
Awesome.
it.
Okay, you are seeing just like what Jeff saw. You think this thing, this is a risen boar.
Oh, okay.
So you go ahead and what you're going to make an attack roll here, Steve, is D20 plus your fighting, which is a D8
right.
plus your
D8.
strength. I think plus your strength. Yeah, with the staff.
Which is a 2. Okay. D20, nice. Plus D8, boom, plus strength. So that's 21.
21, nice. So you absolutely hit. What is your roll on the D20?
14.
14. You only cause a major wound, I believe, on a 18 or higher. So no major wounds. So yeah, you hit this thing, but it is, man, this thing is tough. It's like slapping your, I'll call it a bruise. It's effectively like, imagine slapping a hockey stick up against the side of a frozen slab of beef. Wow!
Right.
Just the shock falls all the way up your arm. Okay, that means it's this thing's turn. Then it snarls, and because of some of its feats, it's got a decent chance of doing a wound here. Okay, it's fighting is that. Let's see here. Evens is Jeff. Yep, it's just Jeff. It's attacking. Let's see here. Holy shit. Okay, that's broken. I'm using the rules as written first. So this thing's got a strength of an 11, which means this is the downside to the way strength works in most versions of D&D, is that strength also means not only that you're really tough, it also means you're incredibly accurate. And I don't think that's what's intended in these rules, but we're doing it as written for now. So this thing nails you and does 3 wounds. It does a major wound plus 1 other one. You misjudge by getting yourself in so close to this. It jerks its head to the side, and you take a major, so 3-point wound that is goring tusk. And you feel this into your side.
I'm going to use my tough desperate reaction to make that a 1 wound.
Yes,
nice.
Love it. So any lesser man, this would have been a horrible, perhaps crippling wound, but you can take it. All right, so top of the round, Aku, what are you doing?
Well, it's still that angered me, so I'm going to spend another tenacity to unleash a full attack on this thing again.
Nice. Okay, give it shit.
Oh yeah, that is 21.
Holy shit.
And I rolled a 15 on the D20, so it's a major wound again.
Nice. So once again, what are you doing now? What's the attack look like?
Actually, yeah. I'm going. You said one of its eyes seems damaged, right?
That's right. Yeah, one of the eyes
I'm trying to damage its other eye. I'm trying to blind it.
Nice. So once, twice, 3 times your massive fist goes against this thing's skull, and then its ocular cavity just caves in, and your fist kind of falls through into it. As soon as you do that, and you damage the brain in it, this thing just falls down in a lump. And you pull your hand back, and your heart is beating hard. Your breath is coming in desperate gasps. You realize this thing has been fallen now. And Steve, would you kindly give me an apothecary roll with mind?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Apothecary roll. D20, nice. 14, 17.
17. Oh, that's easily good enough. So you look down at this thing as what Jeff had done is, or Aku had done is punched through the this thing's good eye, and you look when this thing collapses down. I guess it would have been on this side here, the not the good, but the cataract eye. The other one is sort of grown over. You look at that, Steve, and you recognize the mossy growth that spreads from not only its eye, but sort of in patches on its body. What this is corpse bloom. And what corpse bloom is, it is a vile black mold that has the power to create and control risen through its spores. So,
Not good.
what that means is that there is a patch of corpse bloom near here somewhere. And if you want to think of something that is an aberration of nature, something that stands in defiance of your beliefs, corpse bloom is it.
Time to do some bush burning.
Okay, so I think that is where we'll leave the session, and then that will set us up for our one shot for next week. So before we call it a night, guys, so that's, you've gone through the character creation, and obviously we used more points than the game suggests for a regular starting character. But what do you guys think of the character creation process?
I really like that.
It's pretty funky so far. The choices are a bit limiting. Like, I'm surprised that there isn't a spell that can sort of like either turn undead or destroy undead. Because there's lots of spells to create and control them, but there's no blooded spell to unmake them or I guess just cause them wounds. That's what you got. Yeah,
because they do talk about what do you call it? The Order of Ash being like committed to fighting Risen,
right?
As well, they find them an abomination. But you're right. Yeah, it's weird that there's not a specific a blooded trait to do that.
Right.
We've only obviously gone through one very, very brief combat, but I don't know, like, how did that feel?
It feels pretty fun, I think.
Yeah, I like the dice rolling and the modifiers. Yeah, that the sort of odds affecting kind of style of rolling multiple dice. Yeah.
The thing to give you an idea, you guys inflicted 7 wounds on this thing in the short span of that combat. So, and by comparison, most that thing was a boar that I used out of the NPC section in here, but most things have like a vitality of between about 4, 3 in some cases. So most combat things will be between about 4 and it looks like about a 7. So you guys just are a shit ton of damage in a very, very short order. Which I don't know. I mean, that felt thematically appropriate. I think combat's supposed to be fast and lethal.
Yeah, it felt pretty good to me.
What do you think of the narrative focus on it too? Like, did that? My thought was that you would either be, there's just not enough game there to make it interesting, or it would just make the game disappear and it would feel very narrative.
Right.
What do you guys think? Well, we've got more combat. I guess, it's only one, basically, it's like 2 rounds of combat we've done. So we will see what happens next time. But yeah, it's cool. It's interesting how fully fleshed your characters became and how connected they became over the course of using those or going through the discussion of the beliefs.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
cool.
nice efficient game.
Yeah, and it seemed like, I mean, there was a lot of interesting choices for you as players to make your characters too, right?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So cool. All right. So for those listening at home, thanks so much for joining us for this character creation session for Blood and Bone. We will be playing this in 2 weeks' time for a one-shot story to follow Grimnir and Aku as they try and track down this growth of corpse bloom. My 2 cents, guys, is that I'm actually more excited to run this now than I was at the outset of the session, which is what I was hoping.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good. All right, cool. So for those listening at home, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding tonight's session or about the Blood and Bone game in general, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the section in the comment section below, and we will endeavor to respond in a timely fashion. Otherwise, thanks again, and have a great evening, I guess.